PNC News First is presented by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank. Pizza Hut, we're taking pizza where it's never been before. Taco Bell, the only place where you live Moss. Guam Auto Spot. Colgate, the #1 brand recommended by dentists. And IT&E, Life in Motion.
Live from the Broadcast Center, Akata, Tumon, Guam. Broadcasting in Guam and Saipan. Here's Janella Carrera and Clint Rigel with Donna De Jesus and Rebecca Elmore. PNC Sports with Leo Payumo and Weather with Chelsea Cruz. This is PNC News First.
Afternoon, good evening, and welcome to PNC's News First. We are live from the Broadcast Center, Akanta, in the heart of Tumon. I'm Janella Carrera. Thanks for joining us. Topping your News First tonight, police are on the hunt for a man they arrested last week who apparently escaped from a hospital without checking out. GPD spokesperson Captain Kim Santos says 46-year-old Robert Torralba was arrested on the 1st of the month when officers attempted to execute a traffic pullover on Isangsong Road in Derido. Torralba was operating a motorcycle and lost control and sustained several injuries as a result. He was arrested for multiple traffic violations and an outstanding arrest warrant prior to being transported to the Guam Regional Medical City to receive treatment. But Santos says that Torralba's arrest was not processed just yet because he was to remain at GRMC for an undetermined amount of time. However, Torralba was said to have left the hospital without receiving clearance. Police are asking anyone with information on Torralba's whereabouts to call GPD at 472-8911 or Guam Crime Stoppers at 477-HELP. Also in News First, mayors have spent over $49,000 on travel to the Philippines since February of 2017. Apparently, mayors have gone on 37 trips, including a strawberry festival and a mango festival in the country. PNC's Clint Rigel brings us the details.
In February, mayors spent $8,390.57 on trips to Tinian and Saipan.
I'm responsible in my capacity as the rules chairman to sign off on all the travel request authorizations. And I can tell you I only signed off on one. And that one I only signed off on because the senator traveling assured me that there's going to be a federal reimbursement for the trip.
In March, the mayors spent $19,442.35 to travel to a strawberry festival in La Trinidad, Manila. 7 mayors, a vice mayor, the executive director, and 3 staffers attended.
To attend the strawberry festival. And I said, we don't even grow strawberries on the wall.
In April, they spent $6,317.84 on trips. Then in May, the Mayor's Council of Guam spent $12,340.70 to travel to the 25th anniversary of the Guimaras Provincehood and the Mangahan Festival, or Mango Festival. This cost is a combination of airfare and per diem for 5 mayors, a vice mayor, the executive director, and a staffer. The total spent for travel and per diem on these festivals and other trips in the last 4 months? Over $49,000. Mayor's Council Executive Director Angel Sablan says the travel is due to sister city relationships with cities in the Philippines.
So as far as the request for travel is not the individual, they would have to justify that. Maybe perhaps this is something you can ask them, but as far as you can see for this fiscal year, I didn't request for travel.
Meanwhile, in the midst of a major money crunch, mayors made their way to Metro Manila where they meandered through the streets of a mango festival. For PNC News.
All right, thanks, Clint, for that report. Sablan told senators that despite the cash crunch, mayors would ensure that there is a Liberation Day parade this year. Excuse me. Also, during the budget year. Excuse me, Clint, that was an awesome stand-up. You really got me there. Also, during the budget hearing that was held today, Sablan presented the mayor's budget request of $14.4 million for FY18, which is higher than this year's amount of $13.6 million for FY17. In other news, a corrections officer who was fired last month as part of the investigation into the beating of prisoner Justin Meno is planning to file a complaint against DOC's acting director, Kate Baltazar, who signed his termination papers. Attorney Robert Koss, who represents former corrections officer Benjamin Urquizu, says it's been well over 2 weeks since Urquizu was fired from his job, and until now, he hasn't been able to collect his final paycheck or access his retirement account. Koss says in an email to PNC that Urquizu will be filing the complaint with the Department of Labor under the Fair Labor Standards Act, which requires that employees who are terminated receive their final paycheck upon discharge. Urquizu followed up with the Department of Administration this afternoon, but was told that they still had not received the termination paperwork from DOC to be able to process Urquizu's last paycheck. Koss says that it appears at this point, quote, that the DOC acting director's misconduct is intentional, end quote. DOC spokesperson Lieutenant Jeff Limo, however, tells PNC that Urquizu's termination papers has already been sent to DOA for processing. In addition, Limo is disputing assertions by Koss that Urquizu was placed on administrative leave without pay. Limo says Urquizu was placed on paid leave for 20 days before he was fired. Urquizu is the first corrections officer to discover a badly beaten Justin Meno at the Max Security Yard on March 29th. He was fired for allegedly failing to follow proper protocol. Urquizu is appealing his termination with the Civil Service Commission. Well, tension continues to build between Senator Frank Uggan Jr. and the Guam Land Use Commission. With his latest bill, the Democrat lawmaker is now seeking to temporarily abolish the GLUC. Bill 109 proposes to reconstitute the commission and transfer over the responsibilities of the GLUC to the governor. Uggan chastised the commission for, quote, knowingly and willfully disregarding legal advice of the Assistant Attorney General, end quote, as well as setting a tone, presumably above the law.
Well, anytime that commission members or board members do not heed the legal advice of an Assistant Attorney General or the Attorney General of Guam, then certainly they are overstepping their bounds and their authority. And in this particular case, they are mocking the rule of law, and it's time for us to be able to allow the governor to step in and ensure that he takes over this responsibility and continues the activities and the tasks of the Guam Land Use Commission.
And you can read Bill 109 online at pacificnewscenter.com. Also in News First, a federal court judge has denied a motion for dismissal in the Section 8 fraud case of former GURA attorney Mark Smith and his friend Glenn Wong, but expressed her disappointment in the government's lack of proactivity in providing meaningful access to evidence in the case. PNC's Donna De Jesus has more.
In district court today, the issue of a motion to dismiss for the government's failure to provide discovery still had to be addressed before jury selection could begin for the trial of GURA attorney Mark Smith and his friend Glenn Wong. Smith and Wong were indicted on Section 8 housing fraud charges. Chief Judge Ramona Manglotnia denied the motion for dismissal, but expressed her concern about the issues the defense was still having accessing discovery provided by the government via an internal hard drive on April 20th, containing approximately 85,000 documents, according to the motion. The government was notified by the defense that the discovery was inaccessible, even when using the recommended software. After a pretrial conference, documents say 2 government agents attempted to assist the defense counsel's staff in accessing the drive, but all attempts were unsuccessful. The defense even hired information technology or IT specialists, but were still unable to access the discovery. Judge Manglotnia noted the lengthy hearing the parties had on the issue and scolded the government for not doing their ongoing duty to provide meaningful access, despite the number of times the defense has articulated their struggles. Manglotnia said, quote, help the defense open it up and show them you have nothing to hide, end quote. In the motion, the defense asked the court to, quote, order the government to immediately print and deliver to defendants' counsel the imager-stored discovery and reimburse the defendants the financial burden that they have incurred in enlisting a litigation support group to assist them in reviewing and cataloging the discovery, end quote. In response, Judge Manglotnia informed the court that she will not make any ruling on that matter at this time and will leave the issue open and see how things unravel. Meanwhile, jury selection began this morning. Voir dire will continue until the court gets through the roughly 80 potential jurors. The 3-week trial is slated to begin on June 20th at 8:30 a.m. Reporting for PNC, I'm Donna De Jesus.
In other news, Adelup says they are working with all 3 contracted insurance agencies providing health care insurance to retirees in ensuring coverage is not terminated. Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio was in Mornings with Patty on News Talk K57 addressing the $10 million balance owed for nearly 3 months of non-payment to Calvo Select Care, Take Care, and Net Care insurance. Tenorio assured that the insurance agencies are not threatening to cut off health insurance coverage for GUAM retirees and that this matter is something they deal with from time to time.
We resolved this repeatedly in the past, and it comes down to cash flow issue. And then when the cash comes in, we make sure that the vendors get paid. In the history of the government of Guam, I've never seen that happen. I don't see it's happening this time.
Governor spokesperson, meanwhile, Oyarl echoed Lieutenant Governor Tenorio's statements, adding that DOA Director Christine Belletto will be meeting with all 3 insurance carriers to address the matter.
Christine Belletto does is she sits down, she talks to them, lets them know, hey, this is what we can do, and this is what we can have, and rest assured, just to make sure that they know that she has all 3 of them. She knows what the situation is with all 3 of them. And
of the 3 insurance agencies, Select Care is owed the most at $9 million, followed by Net Care at $700,000, and then Take Care at $565,000. All right, well, don't go anywhere. We have more News First coming up after this.